All right, Raiders Nation, buckle up because we need to talk about what just went down. I know a lot of you have been feeling the frustration, the confusion, the sheer disappointment that comes with being a fan of a team that right now feels completely lost. We're looking at a season where wins have been scarce, morale has been low, and it seems like every week the football gods hand us another reminder that patience is running out. And yet, somehow, if you listen to the last press conference with Pete Carroll, you would think everything is fine. You would think we're a team on the rise, humming along with perfect communication, flawless execution, and some magical fairy dust keeping it all together. But let's be real, that couldn't be further from the truth. We are a team struggling to win, a team that has had glimpses of success only to watch them vanish as quickly as they came. We're sitting at 2 wins and 10 losses, a record that reflects chaos more than competence. Yet somehow the narrative in that room paints a picture of optimism and calm. I have to ask myself, is this a disconnect, or is it intentional storytelling to mask what we all see every Sunday? Geno Smith, our quarterback, is struggling on the field and off it. The energy, the leadership, the body language, it all shows cracks that have only widened as the season progresses. And yet, the questions asked by beat reporters seem to dance around the obvious, tiptoeing around accountability and clarity. It's almost insulting. It's as if the room is rehearsed, prepped, filtered, and sanitized before a single meaningful question reaches the microphone. You can sense the disconnect between fans and the people in that room. And it's maddening because we deserve better. We deserve honesty. We deserve accountability. We deserve questions that aren't softballs but pointed and direct. Questions that reflect what the fan base is actually feeling. And when those questions aren't asked, the gap between perception and reality widens, leaving fans feeling frustrated, ignored, and frankly, disrespected. What Pete Carroll said in that presser, the mentality of the team being worth fighting for, sounds like a line from a motivational poster rather than an actual assessment of a team that is floundering. We aren't fighting for anything right now, except maybe a glimmer of hope that our quarterback can turn things around or that our offensive line suddenly remembers how to block. And the truth is that hope is fading fast. Listening to that presser, you can almost see the exhaustion, the confusion, the lack of direction. Carroll looks like a man who has taken on far more than he can handle. Someone trying to manage a team in full rebuild mode with no clear roadmap. And the result is chaos on the field and frustration off it. It's like watching someone try to raise a newborn while juggling flaming torches. They're exhausted, and so are we. And yet, in the middle of all of this, the beat reporters continue their dance of mediocrity. They ask repetitive, low-stakes questions that add nothing to the conversation. They avoid the hard truths, the tough evaluations, the ones that fans are screaming for. And because of that, people turn to alternative voices, creators, and analysts who aren't afraid to ask the questions that need asking. We aren't puppets. We don't rehearse answers to avoid rocking the boat. We speak the truth, even if it ruffles feathers, even if it exposes uncomfortable realities. Because at the end of the day, being honest with fans is what builds respect. And make no mistake, the Raiders need accountability now more than ever. Geno Smith isn't performing at the level we expected. The offensive line is struggling to the point of embarrassment, and the team overall looks like it's in survival mode every single week. But the press conferences and the media coverage barely scratch the surface. Questions about Max Crosby, while interesting in some contexts, aren't solving the bigger issues. We need to address the quarterback situation, the emergency backup decisions, and the strategic missteps that continue to plague this team. We need clarity, insight, and a level of engagement from those asking questions that reflects the gravity of the situation. Fans want to know what the plan is, not receive a string of rehearsed talking points. They want honesty, even when the truth is harsh, even when it hurts to hear that the team is rebuilding, that mistakes have been made, and that tough choices need to be made immediately. And that's the heart of the frustration. Not just the losses, not just the record, but the lack of meaningful conversation about the future, the lack of courage to ask what's necessary, and the disconnect between what happens in that room and what Raiders Nation feels in their hearts. Because make no mistake, this team isn't fine. It isn't humming along. It isn't a picture of calm and communication. It's a team in transition, a team struggling to find identity and direction, a team where the spotlight exposes weakness at every turn. And yet, in that room, the conversation barely touches reality. The softball questions, the filtered responses, the rehearsed narratives, it's all a show, a performance that falls flat when compared to the chaos on the field. Fans are smart. They see what's happening. They see the throws that shouldn't have been made, the missed blocks, the failed communication, the losses that could have been wins with just a little more preparation and accountability. And when they don't hear those issues addressed honestly, when reporters fail to ask questions that actually matter, it's no wonder people turn to other sources for truth, for analysis, for commentary that isn't afraid to call it as it is. We need questions that cut through the noise, that address the quarterback struggles, the offensive line failures, the decision-making that continues to confuse and frustrate. We need an honest evaluation of the season, not platitudes about mentality or perseverance. We need an understanding of why certain players are being used in certain ways, why strategic decisions continue to baffle, and why the narrative in that press room seems so disconnected from the reality we see every Sunday. And fans have every right to demand it. We aren't asking for entertainment. We aren't asking for spin. We're asking for clarity, honesty, and accountability. And until that happens, the gap between the front office, the coaching staff, and Raiders Nation will only grow wider. Every missed sack, every bad throw, every loss is a reflection of deeper issues, and yet the conversation in that room barely scratches the surface. It's maddening to watch, frustrating to analyze, and heartbreaking as a fan to sit through week after week. The fact that the press conferences continue in this same fashion, with soft, prepped questions, indicates that there's no real engagement with what the fans actually want to know. And that's why voices like ours exist, to fill the gap, to ask the questions that are meaningful, to highlight the struggles, and to shine a light on what's really happening with this team. Raiders Nation deserves better. We deserve insight, honesty, and questions that reflect the reality of being a fan of a team in full rebuild mode, struggling to find footing in a league where patience is thin and expectations are high. And until that changes, until the questions asked match the gravity of the situation, fans will continue to turn elsewhere for the truth, for the analysis, and for the commentary that refuses to pull punches. Now, Raiders Nation, let's get into the nitty-gritty, because the questions that should be asked at these press conferences aren't being asked, and it's high time someone laid them out clearly. Geno Smith has struggled in ways that are impossible to ignore. The lack of consistency, the mistakes on the field, the poor decisions, the throws that defy logic. These aren't isolated incidents, they're patterns. And yet, week after week, the beat reporters barely touch on the heart of the matter. So, the first thing any responsible reporter should ask is, with Geno Smith struggling both on and off the field, has the coaching staff seriously considered starting another quarterback? Not hypotheticals, not distractions, but a clear, direct question that addresses the elephant in the room. Because let's face it, when you're 2-10, every decision counts. Every choice matters. Fans aren't asking for niceties. They want honesty. They want accountability. They want a plan that makes sense in the context of what's actually happening on the field, not rehearsed talking points that obscure the truth. And speaking of honesty, let's talk about Aiden O'Connell. Every fan watching this season has been eager to see him get some meaningful reps, yet he remains the emergency quarterback week after week. Why? What is the decision-making process behind that? Why is he consistently the backup plan rather than the actual backup? Why not flip it? Allow him to develop, give the team and the fans a glimpse of what the future might hold, rather than leaving everything hinged on Geno Smith performing at a level he's clearly incapable of reaching consistently. These are the kinds of questions that not only matter, but actually demand an answer. And moving to the offensive line, oh boy, the interior has been an absolute mess. 26 sacks in 4 weeks without JPJ is a glaring statistic, and it's something that should have been addressed at the start of the season. Why wasn't he in there from day one? What was the thought process? Every fan can see the chaos in the middle, and it's maddening to think that the questions asked at presser after presser don't even touch on this issue. DJ Glaze, Stone Forsythe, and the rest of the line have been inconsistent at best and catastrophic at worst. The team is hemorrhaging yardage and opportunities because the line cannot provide the protection that any quarterback needs to succeed, and yet, somehow, the discussion remains superficial. Now, add in the fact that Pete Carroll seems exhausted, confused, and increasingly disconnected from the realities on the field, and it paints a picture that is impossible to ignore. He looks like a man carrying far too much weight, trying to manage a team that is effectively a newborn in terms of experience, cohesion, and execution. And what does the press ask? Not the hard questions. Not the questions that touch on accountability, strategic missteps, or player utilization. It's softballs, rehearsed talking points, questions that could have been prepared in advance and still add nothing to the conversation. Fans are smart. They see what's happening. They know when a quarterback throws an ill-advised pass. They know when the line collapses. They know when the play calling is unimaginative. And they know when the team is losing momentum simply because leadership on the field isn't up to par. And when the press doesn't ask about these issues, it leaves a vacuum that alternative voices, content creators, and analysts have to fill. That's why people turn to YouTube. That's why people read analysis from sources unafraid to call it as it is. Because someone has to ask the questions that actually reflect the frustrations, the realities, and the concerns of Raiders Nation. And yes, 9 questions may sound like a lot, but when you break them down, they're all essential. They touch on quarterback play, player development, strategic decisions, offensive line stability, and the overall vision for the team. Every single one is relevant. Every single one deserves to be asked, and yet they routinely go ignored in favor of narrative-friendly, non-confrontational questions. It's a slap in the face to fans who show up, watch every game, and support this team through thick and thin. And it's also a missed opportunity for accountability. Let's be honest, a team that is 2-10, that struggles to win games against opponents of varying strengths, doesn't need applause for effort or motivational speeches. It needs evaluation, critique, and clear direction. Every loss, every turnover, every blown coverage tells a story of where the team is failing and what must be addressed. And yet, the conversation in the press room rarely reflects that. Questions about Max Crosby, while interesting in some contexts, do not address the systemic problems affecting wins and losses. Fans need transparency about the quarterback situation, the decision-making for backup players, the line issues, and the coaching approach. They need clarity on whether this team has a realistic path forward this season or whether the focus should shift entirely to rebuilding, developing younger talent, and setting a foundation for next year. And for a head coach like Pete Carroll, acknowledging these issues doesn't make him weak. It shows self-awareness, leadership, and an understanding of what the fan base needs to hear. Instead, what we often get are generalities, cliches, and non-answers that fail to satisfy anyone. Fans, analysts, or even players seeking direction. That's why it's infuriating to watch these pressers. It's infuriating to hear the narrative of optimism when the reality on the field tells a completely different story. It's frustrating to know that reporters have a platform to ask meaningful questions, to push for clarity, and to demand accountability, yet they settle for rehearsed statements that protect the status quo. And fans, who are the lifeblood of this team, are left out in the cold, craving honesty and insight that is nowhere to be found. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on our Las Vegas Raiders. And don't be shy. Drop your thoughts on the news in the comments below. Whispers are swirling across the NFL landscape as one of the league's most intriguing wide receiver scenarios seems to be taking shape. Sources suggest that Michael Pittman Jr., the dynamic pass catcher known for his precise route running and reliable hands, has reportedly reached a lightning-fast agreement with the Las Vegas Raiders. While details remain scarce, insiders hint that the move could dramatically alter the Raiders' offensive landscape. Pittman, who has consistently demonstrated an ability to stretch defenses and make clutch catches, would bring a new level of explosiveness to a Raiders unit that has been searching for a dependable weapon downfield. Rumors indicate that the deal was struck with remarkable speed, leaving many league observers scratching their heads at just how quickly the two sides came together. Some speculate that the Raiders' front office moved with surgical precision, recognizing a rare opportunity to pair their existing offensive talent with a receiver who can immediately impact the passing game. Fans and analysts alike are buzzing over what this could mean for quarterback dynamics in Las Vegas. Pittman's presence could open up the field in ways that have been missing, creating mismatches that opposing defenses simply may not be prepared for. Meanwhile, social media is alight with speculation about potential offensive schemes, with some suggesting that the Raiders could become one of the most unpredictable passing attacks in the league. Of course, nothing is official until contracts are filed and practice reports confirm availability, but the pace of these discussions has sparked a whirlwind of excitement. Pundits are already debating how this rumored acquisition might affect divisional rivalries and the balance of power in the conference. One thing seems certain: if Pittman does indeed suit up in silver and black, Raiders fans may be in for a thrilling season full of highlight reel plays and strategic intrigue. As the NFL rumor mill churns, the question on everyone's mind is how quickly Pittman can integrate into the Raiders' offensive system, and whether this seemingly sudden deal will pay off in dramatic fashion. One thing's for sure: the chatter isn't dying down anytime soon, and all eyes will be on Las Vegas to see if these whispers materialize into a game-changing reality. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our Las Vegas Raiders, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.